What's up, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Casters of Horror. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane, and this week we're digging into some American Carnage.
Carnage.
Merica.
Carnage.
Merica.
But before we get into the United States of America, we got a little bit of movie news. Yeah. So, Shane, you got a little. You brought a little bit this week. I'll let you jump in first.
Got a little bit of TV news.
TV news.
Chris, I'm
also made a movie at one point.
Yeah,
But
2 movies.
I didn't see the second one.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay.
So apparently I have bad news here. The X-Files Albuquerque.
I took a wrong turn at Albuquerque.
The X-Files Albuquerque, the animated comedy spin-off of the live-action classic, is not moving forward at Fox. Yeah. Also, apparently, there was an animated comedy spin-off in the works. So, that's news to me, so whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either. Apparently, it was announced back in 2020, but it will not be moving forward.
I wonder if the original cast was coming back for it.
No, it was supposed to be covering like a B team. So I don't know. Have you seen any of the Star Trek's Lower Decks?
I have not.
Okay, so that's basically like the Lower Decks crew.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
And so I have a feeling it was going to be along those lines. Because it was an animated comedy, so it was going to be kind of zany, whatever. But
yeah.
So no,
they were investigators.
Yes,
right. So it would actually be X-Files Lower Decks.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
Lower Decks.
There you go. Lower Decks.
What apparently could be moving forward is a full-on reboot of the X-Files from Ryan Coogler, who was responsible for Creed and both Black Panther movies. He was the writer and director.
Okay.
On all those. But yeah, he is going to be... he's going to be... obviously we don't know if this is moving forward yet, but it is being described as a X-Files with a diverse cast.
That's all that I've heard about it. Yeah.
I think that was Chris Carter who said that. Chris Carter, the original creator. I found his wording here was a little bizarre, because he's like Ryan Coogler, who is going to remount the X-Files with a diverse cast. So he's got his work cut out for him because we covered so much territory. And I'm like, wait a minute. You covered so much territory with diversity? Because I don't think so, but
no,
or
not so much.
Maybe he just meant they've covered so much territory in the show.
In the show. Yeah, content wise and all that sort of stuff. Do you think a X-Files reboot's gonna fly?
Yeah, for one season.
Yeah.
There's no way. And we saw this in 2 cases, when the original was starting to end, and so they brought in some new agents, to replace like David Duchovny, for example.
Yeah.
And then they did the not really reboot seasons, the sequel seasons recently, and they had a couple of younger agents. And I kind of feel like they were trying to set them up to be the new Mulder and Scully, but it's not going to work. If you call it the X-Files, people are going to want Mulder and Scully, and it's just not going to fly. There's no way.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless
you take it to CBS.
Yeah, well, even then.
If you take it to CBS, then they're like, Hawaii Five-0, sure. Let's do this remake, too, of all these old shows.
But, at least those are remakes that are pretty far removed. I feel like the X-Files was still well in the public consciousness, especially since, they have done, another movie after the show ended, and then they did those 2 remake season, or,
the
new seasons.
Mini series.
Yeah.
Ones.
So
yeah.
But no, I had mentioned on Twitter that it's not the concept that's the problem, because Fringe was fantastic, elevation of the concept that took it into more of a scientific direction. But that was a different show, So I think you create a show like this, you call it anything other than the X-Files, there's a possibility it could work. I've seen some that still crashed and burned after a season, but this one, I'd say, is almost guaranteed to crash and burn after a season. People aren't going to watch it if there's no Mulder and Scully. Well,
somehow Velma got a second season, so
yeah. So a lot of people are attributing that to the hate watching, but honestly, what a lot of people don't realize is with animated shows, a lot of times those are just automatically brought on for 2 seasons. So I don't know.
Yeah, except for Q Squad, which
No,
was on Netflix. That was a great
I
show.
never saw that one.
And they canceled it.
Yeah,
It's a great
that's
show.
because
So
Netflix likes to see their stories through to the end, as they said back in like 2020 or something. Or
of course they
I don't
do.
know.
Of course. Now I can't even like watch shows. What was the one that oh yeah, Altered Carbon.
Oh yeah,
I started watching that like 2 weeks ago, and then you're like, yeah, I think they canceled that one early, and I was like, dang
yeah,
it.
it canceled after 2 seasons.
So anyway,
Anyway, you got anything for us?
I do. Speaking of things that are out there and should be canceled, the Catholic Church has some issues with the new film that's coming out, The Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah.
They have stated that they believe that the magical incantations and everything that the exorcist is saying makes their religion look fake. So they
Yeah,
they
that's
are
what does it.
that's they are they're not happy about it.
And
They
and this after that priest had to like resign in disgrace because he was reciting a magical incantation incorrectly for 20 years. So
yes,
sure,
exactly.
yeah, it's this movie that's
Yeah,
going to be the problem.
it's this is what's going to take down the what rules the world.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, they are not happy with the new uh, Russell Crowe make of this film.
Oh, now I definitely want to watch
And
it then.
yeah, speaking of hate watching,
Yeah.
but anyway, they are very concerned that people will look at their religion as something magical, and that they won't take them seriously
Yeah.
anymore. So,
I mean, it could be a
um,
problem if people don't take Invisible Goat Monster seriously. So that's,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
something like that. But anyway, let us know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is gonna affect the Catholic Church in any sort of way, or do you think the X-Files reboot will make it? Let us know down in the comments down below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit like and subscribe, because we like to know if people are watching
We do.
this. And because we sit here weekly and we go, we're just going to talk into the ether and see what happens. But anyway, without further ado, we might as well jump into this week's film. Since we've already poked one hornet's nest, let's go for another one. This film is called American Carnage. This is a film. You know what? I didn't even look up who directed this, who wrote it, anything like that. I got all the cast and everything, but I don't have any of the other stuff. That's not great of me. Good host. Good host. That's such a good host. It was directed by Diego Halavis. It was also written by Diego and what I would assume maybe brother Julio Halavis. I don't know. Might be brothers. It might be lovers. I don't know. Could be the same. I don't know. But anyway, it was written and directed by Diego Halavis, and written by him and someone else by the same last name. This film, well, first off, before we get completely into it, if you guys haven't watched this film, make sure that you go and check it out. Because, like we do every week, this is a full spoiler review. We take every scene by scene. We break it down to its tasty morsels, bite by bite. So, anyway, with that being said, let's jump on into it. The film starts out with a commercial about Merica and America's needs. Immigrants.
It actually starts out fairly, fine. It's just like, America. Yeah, it really does. Like,
I don't know. Once that accent started,
Yeah.
I was already
So I mean,
triggered. I was like,
it's obvious that it's a propaganda piece, but
yeah,
it started out just your normal everyday
yeah. America,
America
land of the
stuff.
free,
Yeah.
home of the brave.
Yeah.
You hear, we're proud of America. America stands for freedom, liberty, and
Yeah. I mean, your generic stuff like that.
on the backs of immigrants.
And
And
then it moves
you
into
know,
that.
yeah, and it's like the things that we need. We need immigrants. We need them for their ideas that we take,
Yeah.
and we need them for their work because we use them as workers and for entertainment. And it's showing like different, like real people
Yeah. Yeah.
that were
It's
that
real clips of actual
yeah,
like TV shows, movies,
yeah,
cartoons.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they say, and most of all, we need them for villains.
We need them so we can scare people.
Yeah, someone to point the finger at and be afraid of, and to take money off of. I was
It's
like,
like,
oh my word.
oh, okay.
Um, and then we get this. It's a propaganda piece for this governor.
Yeah.
Um, and he's running for reelection. Then
Yeah. We're
we,
getting in this thing too. We're getting clips. This is something I always appreciate, and something I've always said about Amazon's show The Boys, right? Is that they in that show, like the villains, all they have to do is quote places like Fox News. They just quote them verbatim. They don't. You don't have to make stuff up, right?
yeah,
And it happens in this show too, or in this movie, where nothing is, at least in this first segment, it's not just that they're quoting them verbatim; they're showing actual clips
they're
of,
showing actual clips of
yeah,
yeah
of
the newscasters
yep,
and pundits and all this sort of stuff saying things.
yeah,
Um,
including a direct quote from good old former President Donnie T saying the words "American Carnage."
yeah.
This American Carnage is gonna
Um,
stop.
yeah.
Or
Speaking
something.
of, happy Indictment Day. But yeah. Where we then zoom in on a fast food joint called Lady Liberty.
Yeah.
We then focus in on one of the workers there. His name's JP. He's played by Jorge Lindbergh Jr. He's known for the film Bumblebee, Spider-Man: Homecoming. He was also in Love, Simon. He was in some other films as well, but I'm not going to run down the whole list. He's a nice guy. He helps people out there. He's happy-go-lucky kind of kid.
Yep.
High schooler, like towards the end of high school and whatnot. I gathered from this,
Yeah.
maybe summer break. I don't know, but he just seems to be in that time of his life. He ends up covering somebody else's shift to help them because they had something come up with their kid. So he ends up pulling a double. And he's got to work the drive-through. We then get some rich, I would assume, trust fund prick
Yeah.
who decides he wants this special order. And he's like, well, we don't do that, blah, 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 blah. That's not what we do here. And then this guy pulls up to the window to just chew JP out, basically. Like, do you know who I am? Blah, blah, blah. He's driving a Bentley, a convertible Bentley with like those balls that you
Yeah.
see hanging off the back of
Trucks
trucks
usually,
that I
yeah.
believe are illegal now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know in a lot of states they're illegal now.
Huh.
Dude's racist,
Oh, yeah.
full on
Yep.
racist. And JP plays that up big time
Yeah.
throughout this thing. Anyway, the guy ends up getting mad. He speeds off because JP has, used his brain, and this guy couldn't because he's a piece of trash. Next car that comes up is his sister Lily in the back seat of a really hot girl's car. Lily's played by Marie Morales. She was in The Dropout, The Shrink Next Door, and Hypochondriac, as well as some other things. She's telling JP to be home by 8 because they got something special going on. And the hot girl in the front's like, she got into Columbia.
Yeah.
So, and he's like kind of shocked. Not that he's shocked that she got in, but more so she's doing something, she's moving away,
Yeah.
he's going to be left there, and all this sort of stuff. So he's getting ready to leave. His buddy pranks him, and the guy's like, "Can you help me out? I got some weed if you want to, all this sort of stuff." I thought this was going somewhere, it didn't. So anyway, we're back at the house. We get some like brother sister talk. She's talking about moving away and all this. He's like, "I'll be fine. I'm taking care of it. I got plans. I'm a hustler, blah, blah, all this sort of stuff." And then she kind of fixes her hair, and he notices that she's gotten a tattoo
Yeah.
behind her
Yeah,
ear.
a little butterfly tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Then
clearly
yeah.
he's like, or she's like, don't say anything, don't say anything. So clearly mom wouldn't approve.
Yeah. So, um, next we're at a party. It's all these people that have come over to celebrate her getting into school, into Columbia University. I mean, it's a big deal,
Yeah.
especially for a family, single mother, immigrant family, all that sort of stuff. And anyway, we're in the middle of like a toast
Yeah.
type thing for everybody, and ICE comes busting through the door. If you guys aren't familiar with ICE, they're the racists with badges.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
they.
to be a little more specific.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Specifically, these
Government ordained racists with badges.
still not specific enough. So no, these are. They're not border patrol, but they are the government organization that rounds up people who they think might not be here legally, and
Yes.
yeah, I mean that's basically what they do, and they
getting rid of anyone who is not in the United States legally.
Yeah.
But take very, very hostile actions to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah. They end up coming busting through the door like a SWAT team through the windows, everything, and arrest everybody.
Yeah.
In that place.
And this is where we get the idea basically, because I think did they start playing a newscast over this?
Yes.
So basically we find out, so they're arresting illegal immigrants, right?
Yes.
But then they're also arresting their children for aiding and abetting.
Correct. Yeah. So this goes back to when, I mean, this actually happened here in the United States. This is where the people who were here illegally, but their kids were also going to be deported as well, which were known as dreamers.
Yeah.
They were going to be deported as well to a country that they had never lived in because they had lived here their whole life. This is what's happening at this point.
Yeah, and in case you're not from around here, what basically happens is if you are born on American soil, then you are an American citizen, whether your parents were legal citizens or not.
Correct.
Right, so,
and usually if your child is born here, you get some form of asylum.
Yeah.
Generally.
So that's
however, that's become a big issue within the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Predominantly.
Yeah. So that's basically how they're getting the kids, because they can't arrest the kids for being illegal immigrants. They're citizens, right? So their crimes are aiding and abetting, because they could have turned in someone who they knew had
their
committed
parents.
a crime. Yeah. So
correct. Yeah. And this is all happening and trying to happen right before this governor's upcoming election.
Yeah.
So he can get it done. They're all shipped off to detainment camps. And we see that they're all put in different cages and things like that at the camps. You've seen those if you've watched any news things around here. And then we see that JP's sister Lily gets bussed off. She gets put onto a bus and taken somewhere. So families are being split up. They're not allowed to see each other. Speaking of, that's the last time we see Mom too. As we then find out from a lawyer of some sort, someone there representing some of the people there at the detainment camp.
Uh,
I don't know how JP was in there talking with her. It was just like all of a sudden he's in there talking with this lawyer.
I
We
think,
find out as long as the legal born citizen can claim the immigrant as part of their family, that family member will not be deported. And he's
yeah,
like, well, my sister and I can. She goes, no, because you're in custody for aiding and abetting. Those laws are not applied to you,
yeah,
but I have found a loophole.
yeah. And this is the lady we saw her earlier in the news report, where she was basically saying that this whole thing that this governor is doing is
Mm,
unconstitutional, is illegal. We are fighting it.
yeah,
Right. So she
exactly.
was on TV saying, it was her organization. And so JP is like, are you, you said you were going to be able to do something about this. And she's like, well, we failed, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, it just we couldn't make it happen.
yeah.
However, there was a loophole. She said if you do this work program, um, then all of your any charges against you will be dropped
Yeah.
if you complete it. And what he has to do is go work at an old folks home.
Yeah.
And it's the program's called Elderly Americans Tolerance Understanding, which is, I'm like, that is the worst name for something. However, they had to look for something that spelled out eat you.
Eat up.
Well, oh yeah, once you get program in there,
Yeah.
huh?
It's pretty, yeah.
But
The
on the
elderly
thing, it
American.
just said,
Yeah. Oh, did it just say
yeah, it
understanding?
just said
Okay.
elderly Americans tolerant understanding was just eat you.
Huh.
But yeah, once you add the program onto it, which isn't on the thing, it was eat up. Yeah. That's funny. Anyway, then we get like the meet the crew montage,
Yeah.
where they're all these are all the people that are going to be going to this program that have agreed to it. They're all sitting in front of two, I guess, agents of some sort that are at this table interviewing them.
Yeah.
And at the same time we also get like a security guard type guy, and he's like yelling at them, telling them the rules of what's going to be happening, all this. So first off we get and while the officers doing the rundown, they're also putting ankle monitors on all of them, which
Yeah.
has a 5-minute countdown if they're not where they're supposed to be, and it beeps. They got 5 minutes or else there's consequences.
Yeah.
First off, sitting at the table is Juan Pablo Valdez, also known as JP. He goes with an S, not a Z. Is spelled GOFUCKYOURSELF. I'm like, that's pretty funny. He's like, does that make sense? You get it? Then we get Camila Montes. She's full-time activist, part-time political prisoner, played by Jenna Ortega. You guys know her from Wednesday, of course. She was in X, the last 2 Scream movies, a bunch of other stuff. She's been acting since she was a wee lass. And then we get Chris Morales. He says, I have chronic anxiety and delusional paranoia. He's played by Jorge Diaz, who's a well-known voice actor. He's done a ton of cartoons.
Oh, really?
Like,
Wow.
ton of cartoons and video games. He's like, if you look at his IMDb of the stuff that he's done, and I had heard of his name prior to this, but then again, I did dabbled in voice acting,
Okay.
and tried to get into that field for still am. If anybody's interested, please reach out at whatamess@gmail.com. Anyway, yeah, he's done a ton of stuff, man. And you'll look at his IMDb list and go, holy crap, he was the voice of that guy and that guy. And yeah.
Nice.
He also was in The Long Road Home, The 33, and Jane the Virgin. We've also got Big Mac. He's the next guy up. Cause he be macking the big hose is why he's called Big Mac, he said. He's played by Alan Maldonado. He was in the House Party remake. He was also in the Wonder Years remake and Sneakerheads, which I'm sure was possibly a remake. He then asks, "Am I in here because I'm Latino or black or both?" Confusion. Uh, he's pretty funny. Then we have Mika Fuentes. She says she's a gluten-free vegan Democrat socialist. Is that a crime yet? And I also wrote on here hot AF.
Tasty.
She is played by Bella Ortiz. She was in Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, and The Field, which I'm pretty sure was somewhere in Chicago. They then pull up to Owl Cove Nursing Home, which looks like Hogwarts for the elderly.
Yeah.
Um, they're all led into the building by that security guard guy. They're all wearing orange jumpsuits, which I'm like, will this not trigger the old people? Like seeing all these criminal
Yeah.
criminals
Well, they're
being led
actually,
through there.
and this
But
might be down to your vision. They're actually like it's a bright yellow, which is really
so they're being led through in all these yellow jumpsuits, and I'm like, wouldn't these trigger
yeah,
these old people that are sitting in there?
yeah,
Yeah, more than likely, yes. So they meet a gentleman in there. He is the supervisor, the head of the whole Owl Cove nursing home. He's Mr. Eddie Davis, and I will refer to Eddie quite often in this. He's played by Eric Dane. He's on
Tasty.
Grey's Anatomy, Feast, Charmed, The Last Ship, Euphoria.
Huh.
And he's done a bunch of other stuff too. In fact, somebody was just asking about Feast last night, I think on Reddit. They were like, has anybody seen this? They're then given a tour of the facilities, their different responsibilities. There's a pool. They're like, you're not allowed to swim in this pool whatsoever.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they say, and they do it during this little montage when he's walking them around, or they're being walked around by the operations officers or whatever.
yeah.
They're like, it's no matter what happens, it's very important that these guests remain calm. So that's your
Yeah.
job to do whatever you need to do to keep them calm.
Yeah.
So they're
Yep.
like,
As they're being led through in their jumpsuits still.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, wouldn't this is weird.
yeah,
So then they're settling in kind of for their first day. JP is handed a book by Mika. She's like, here, read this to this old lady. So JP starts to read this book to this old lady, and she looks at him and she starts getting kind of like scared looking, and then she starts murmuring, "You and I here," and he's like, "What?" She's like, "You and I here," and he's like, I don't understand." And finally, you get that she says, "You will die here."
See, I never was able to make out what she said. Okay,
Yeah. And she just keeps saying it over, "You will die here. You will die here."
yeah,
And she's getting louder and louder and louder. And the staff, the orderlies or whatever they are, they come over, they run over and they sedate her. Okay. They give her like this shot to the back of the neck.
yeah,
They're sitting down now at lunch in the cafeteria. They're eating. Chris is like, I'm not going to eat anything. They probably like put stuff in the water and in
yeah,
the food. They're trying to poison us, or they're trying to like, change us chemically or and all this sort of stuff. And they're like, you're just being paranoid and all this sort of stuff. And he's like, I think we need to get out of here. And I think I found a way. And he's like, they're like, well, then go do it. And he's like, I think I might. And so he takes
yeah,
off. He tries to go out the doors and it's like, whoop, whoop, whoop,
yeah.
like stuff going on, alarms and all
And
that.
it doesn't even like it's not like the door opens. It's just him
No.
pushing on the handle.
Yeah.
And it's locked, right? He can't get the door open, but just pushing on the handle was
Yes.
enough to set off the alarms.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
And there's two big security guards that come over and they just tase him.
yeah.
Like and then they drag him off.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we don't see Chris then anymore during that scene. Then it's late at night. JP's hearing some weird noises. He wakes up and then he's like, oh man. And I know when I'm awakened in the middle of the night, I got to pee. So
Yeah.
that's the same thing he has to do. He gets up, he goes to the restroom, which is down the hall from his room. the whole time during this, his ankle monitor starts
Yeah.
beeping and all this. While he's going to the restroom, we see someone sneak past the doorway and go into his room.
Yeah.
It is an old naked lady, which I don't understand why horror movies are so fascinated with old naked
I
women.
know, right? I don't know what the
It's
deal is with that.
and yeah, but anyway, she ends up she like yells at him and then says something to him along the lines of um
She says Virgil will set you free.
thank you. Thank you. I was like I remembered that she said it later and but um anyway, and then she like tackles him and then he's like falling out the door and the staff, those orderlies and everything, they rush over and they sedate her and they're like, "Oh, good job, man. Good job. Took her down," and all that sort of stuff. The next morning, Eddie, the supervisor guy, the head
Yeah.
main dude, he's making apologies. He has, people there, and he's like, "I'm so sorry. That shouldn't have happened," and blah blah blah. Someone left the door open. This is the dementia ward. These are the people that are really gone at
Yeah.
this point, and
And the funny thing too is like when they were walking through earlier,
mhm.
um, almost all of them actually seem like this, right?
Yeah, for the most
Yeah,
part,
they're
yeah.
all like either like quiet, reserved. They're kind
Yeah,
of
there ain't nobody talking.
no. None of these old people are like. It's not like one of those. Oh, this is a great community home, and just maybe some of
Yeah,
them are
they're
kind of
like
out there.
walking around doing no, everybody's like being pushed around in
Yeah,
wheelchairs
everybody's
and
very subdued. Yeah,
yeah,
so,
and almost all invalids of some sort,
yeah,
it seems like.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah. Um I so then JP's like, "Well, can I help? You know, anybody in here?" And so they're like, "Yeah, no, great. Yeah, you can stay and help." And the rest of them are all supposed to go off and do their duties. Um, and he's supposed to help get this old guy into bed.
Yeah.
He's strapped into his wheelchair and everything because he's a biter,
Yeah.
they said. And I'm like, the guy's a biter. And then we find out that the one orderly dude, the main orderly dude, I forgot what his name is,
I think
James or something
it's
like that.
James, yeah.
Yeah, he's a dick.
Oh, yeah.
He's I forgot what all he's calling the old guy, but he's saying stuff that's not nice.
Yeah.
JP's like, don't say that. Don't call him that. He's, still human and all this sort of stuff. And the guy's like, what are you going to do about it? Well, come on, bring it. If you want to, and Eddie steps in. He's like, is everything okay? He's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Just showing him the ropes type thing,
Yeah.
and he's like, all right, just keep it calm, and so they start unstrapping and then he's like, yeah, you're on my shiz list now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you. So they start unstrapping the old guy, and another old guy from another bed ends up biting JP in his arm.
Oh, was
Like,
it a different guy?
yeah, it was
Okay.
a different guy. It was the
Okay.
guy in the bed behind him.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It reaches out and bites him in the arm, and then JP's like, blood,
Yeah.
and falls over and passes out. He wakes up in the nurse's station, and surprisingly enough, Lily, his sister,
Yep.
is his nurse.
Yep.
And she's like, it's funny, we've only been like 1 mile apart this whole time. And I'm like, this place is a mile long.
I know,
Oh,
seriously.
geez, it's huge. And then so she's like, no, you're gonna be okay, and all this sort of stuff. And then she says, like, you're gonna take care of everything, right? Which is one of the last things that she said before ICE came in and raided.
Oh.
And then the room starts like there's this weird fog, like black fog
Yeah.
comes in.
The room goes Silent Hill there. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
like yeah, it covers up the windows and all this stuff. And then everything like goes like starts going black, and then he wakes up. And then Mika is there in
Yeah.
the room. And she's like, "Hey, you woke up," and all that.
Well, and it's like he was laying down when he saw his sister, right? I think,
Yeah.
and then he shoots up in bed, but there's no like shot of him like opening his eyes and waking up. He just sits up, right? So it's almost like he was seeing it, right? And so
Yeah.
to me it wasn't entirely clear that like he was having a nightmare. It to me it was like, oh crud. I interpreted that as like, oh my gosh, he was really there,
Yeah.
at the time. But it's like
I
it's
don't know.
hard to say.
Yeah. 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 Um, we can see that there's a relationship blossoming between Mika and JP at this
Mhm.
point. Um, and next we're back in the cafeteria. All of them are there except for Chris.
Yeah,
They're like, "If you guys know, where's Chris at? We didn't, haven't seen him and since the day before." And one of them says that he got sent back,
yeah, yeah.
or no, it was one of the orderlies
Yeah,
said that
one of
he got
the it
sent
was
back.
the I think her name was Cynthia. It was the one of the operations officers they were introduced to.
Yeah,
Basically, James's part.
there's James and I guess this Cynthia, I
Yeah,
guess is her name. They're like the two main. James is like the head of the orderlies or whatever you
yeah,
want to call. Yeah, and she's kind of the second in command, if you will.
yeah,
At least that we get from this.
yeah,
And she says that he was sent back to the detainment camp, and she walks off, and Big Mac's like, I don't think this is true. He goes, because I found his inhaler.
yeah,
He's like, he could go without food, but he ain't going out without his inhaler. And
yeah,
they're like, I think it's a lie. I think something else is going on. Next, we see Big Mac is wheeling the same older lady from earlier that JP was reading the book to.
mhm.
He's wheeling her into Mr. Phillips' room, who's another older gentleman. He's like, "We're here for movie night, and I brought you a date."
Yeah,
He's like, "We're gonna Netflix and don't die on me." Um, but however, while JP's trying to get a movie started, the old man, he's like moving and his hands are contorting in his
yeah,
body, and then you hear bones snapping and he's kind of going weird, and then he dies.
yeah,
And JP, I mean not JP, but Big Mac goes over to check on him, and he's like, are you okay? Are you okay?" And he kind of leans down to listen,
yeah.
and then he's
He
like,
does that horror movie thing where someone puts their ear down to
to the
to
mouth.
mouth, and I'm like, no, 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 dude, don't do that.
Yeah, that guy's gonna bite you. And then he doesn't.
Nope.
And he sits up and or he gets up and he's like, he died. And he says to the old lady, he's like, he died. Greta, that's what her name was.
Yeah, Greta.
And he's like, I didn't know it. And then all of a sudden the old guy sits up and he's like, and then he
Yeah,
starts contorting and like doing like all these weird twists and falls on the floor. And his body's all twisted and contorted, and
yeah.
then he starts like crawling
He starts
backwards.
doing that the Exorcist crawl.
Exactly,
Yeah,
that's what I have on here. Yeah, I was like somewhere between The Exorcist and The Ring.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and then Mac is like, oh, and he's like escaping, but he leaves Greta in there.
yeah,
And anyway, so Mac escapes. The next morning, Eddie has all of the staff. It appears like all the new people there. They're in like the middle of the big lobby area, and he's meeting with all of them. He's, I have no explanation for what had happened. Um, shouldn't have happened. Blah blah blah, and all this.
he's
And
also
at the end of the,
he's also
oh, go ahead.
downplaying it, basically just saying that like, oh, he just died. He had I don't know
Yeah,
if he had a seizure or something or whatever. Because Big Mac
yeah.
is like, that's when he leans over to JP and is like, that's not what happened.
That's not. Yeah, it's not. He's like, you have something you want to share with the rest of everybody. He's like, oh, I just felt so bad
Yeah,
for Mr. Peterson, um, or Mr. Phillips,
yeah,
and so Eddie says to JP, he's like, hey, can you stick around? I got something I want to show you and all that. So Eddie takes JP and James goes along for some reason. They go out to meet the owl mascot of Owl Cove,
yeah,
whose name is Virgil.
hmm,
He's the gatekeeper, they call him, of the place, because he basically explains it as he's like non-native to that area, and he's a predator, and he's like disturbing the natural balance or something, but keeping order.
See, the way I thought he was saying that there was basically that there were other birds in the area.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Okay,
Like,
so there might have been, yeah, there were other birds in the area
yeah,
that were not natural to that area.
yeah,
That's what it was.
and so
And
yeah,
he's
so basically,
maintaining
yeah,
balance.
Virgil
Yes.
was there to basically just scare them off because these birds aren't going to stand a chance against an owl. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So I got that. I got I saw the birds and then I was like, okay, so who's not native to the
yeah,
area?
I think it was the other
I think you're
smaller
right.
birds.
I
Yeah,
think you're right. I think you're right.
yeah,
Yeah. So he's the gatekeeper. He's trying to keep balance. He's trying to. That makes a lot more sense now.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does.
So he's keeping the non-native birds out of the area.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Um, and he's like, uh, he says, so he's a gatekeeper in more than one way, and
yeah,
all this sort of stuff. And Eddie's like, that's kind of how, I see myself type thing. And he goes, can I trust you and James to get along to help me with this plan, with this everything? And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's like, all right, so I want you guys to hug it out.
yeah,
And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, hug it out. And he walks off. So JP and James kind of hug it out. And then James is like, I'm still going to get you and all that.
He's
And
like,
then,
I'm going to make your life a living hell. As he's
yeah,
hugging JP, he whispers in his ear, and
yeah,
JP's like, "Well, don't kill the mood." And then he like holds
yeah.
him tight so he can't get away.
And then James is like, what are you doing? Let go. This is weird. And JP's like just acting like he's loving it and everything. But the reason why he's holding on for so long is because when James leaves, we find out that JP has stolen his keys.
Yeah,
To which then back in his room, he takes off his ankle monitor. He then proceeds to go to the other people's rooms, which there's some funny things that happen throughout this, but he ends up busting the other ones out of
yeah,
their ankle monitors. Um, and they're all going to go for a swim now.
yeah,
Uh, and during this scene, Mika and JP get a lot closer. And then after that, they get way closer.
yeah,
And then to our disappointment, the camera pans away.
yeah.
So JP, and they're getting it on in the nurse's station.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay. JP wakes up in the morning at the nurse's station. It's sunny out, bright as day, and he rolls over. Someone else is in bed with him, and he looks to see Mika, and it's an old lady
Yeah.
looking at him, smiling.
Yeah.
And he freaks out and falls on the floor. And then Mika comes in to get the old lady. She goes, I was looking for you. There you are. And then she just looks back at JP and smiles. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's two kids in love, type thing. So anyway, JP sees Greta outside. They're outside, I believe, at this point. And he looks over and he sees Greta, and she has one of those, those cootie catcher things. It's like
it's like a folded paper toy that you
where
you
you
put your
like
fingers in, you can move it
bring
back
it
and forth.
open and you
Yeah.
do it different. It's got like 4 little parcels to it,
Yeah.
and you kind of spread it open. It's a game where you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and
Yeah.
then it has different things, and you lift the flap, and it says different stuff under it.
Yeah.
There was people at my school when I was younger that used to do them all the time, and then they were always like, "Who are you gonna marry?"
Yeah.
And it was like, we're in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
But then so she has one of these cootie catcher things, and he notices that she has one. He's like, "Where did you get that?" Because he's trying to find his sister.
Yeah.
And he's like, did Lily give that to you? Do you know what? And she's like looking at him like kind of confused and all this. And then does she give it to him?
Uh,
Or what happens? I don't remember. He ends up getting it somehow.
I can't remember
Or does he
if
just take
he takes it or she gives it to him. I'm not sure, but he
I think
does
she
end up
gives
with
it
it,
to
and
him.
she grabs his like wrist
Yeah. And
there.
like freaks out again.
Yeah, yeah,
And then Claudia or whatever takes her
yeah,
away at that point.
yeah.
Mac and
Because at this
oh,
point, Claudia is like, she says transfer to Ward B. It's been a long time coming, and
that's right, yeah.
JP. I think it's is it Mika who comes up to him, or is it, I don't know, one of the other characters comes up to him, and he's like, it's, I don't know why Greta keeps freaking out on me.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think it's Mika because
okay.
they've got
Yeah.
that thing going now. Um
Yeah.
Mac and Camila say that they what all happened that night before, because they knew that Mika and JP snuck off together.
Yeah.
But Mac and Camila said that they blacked out. They were swimming and then they just don't remember anything after
Yeah.
that. And JP then notices something on Camilla's neck, and it looks like the marks from where they do the tranquilizer, the sedation
Yeah.
stuff on her neck. Um, and they're like, "That's so weird." That she's like, "I don't remember that." And they're like, "That's part of being,
Yeah.
tranquilized. You don't remember." Uh, JP is now back in his bed. It's late at night, and he has that cootie catcher thing, and he ends up unfolding the flap, one of the flaps on the inside, and it says the word. It's folded to where it says the word "help." So whatever they
Oh,
made it
okay.
out of,
Okay.
it says "help" on it.
That's what I wasn't sure. I could tell because like the camera zoomed in, so I know that he noticed something, and I wondered
Yeah,
because it's one of those brochures for
yeah,
the owl. What is it? Whatever,
Owl
alcove.
Cove.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's one of those brochures that the lawyer showed JP at the beginning. But so I figured it was something in the way it was folded, but I couldn't tell what it was he noticed.
yeah. So the word "help" is isolated
Okay, okay,
in the fold. So he's like, "Oh, she's needing help. It must be from Lily. It's a code.
yeah,
You know." So, or from Greta,
yeah,
it's from one of them. So he sneaks to find Greta or Lily or one of them, and we see, or he goes to Greta to find out where she got it and all
yeah,
that sort of stuff. And the James and Cynthia come in, um, and they're like, give her a double dose. It'll, she's gonna be gone sooner, quicker, sooner than later, type thing. Let's just get
yep,
it over with. And they give her a double dose and everything. JP checks her. She's like out cold. And as he's checking her pulse and all that sort of stuff, he notices on the right behind her ear, she has a small butterfly tattoo.
yep.
And he realizes that's
That's
Lily.
Lily.
Somehow she's old.
Now I will say that this is I, I kind of called this one
Mm-hmm.
pretty early. The first time you see her is actually like when they're first being walked into the facility. You see Greta in the garden,
Yeah.
and like she kind of looks at JP weird, and,
Yeah.
and
And
I don't know.
notices
Just
it
right
in
then,
her.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened to her, but that's that's
Yeah.
Lily.
I either was like, that's Lily or that's his mom.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I was because the mom kind of has some of the same facial features
yeah.
and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's, and,
That's
but
not to say
somehow,
that this was like bad or obvious writing. I just, for
no.
me, I just picked up and I was like, I bet that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, so, he checks on her. He realizes it's Lily,
yeah,
and he turns to go get out of the room to let everybody else know what's going on. And James is there, sees him, and lays him out.
oh yeah, just knocks him out
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. Now it's lunchtime again, cafeteria. Um, Big Mac has been talking about how he's wanted burgers, and he's got 3 of them, and he's just eating away. He's like, "Oh, these are so good. You do the greatest job." And it's Camilla's made them. She's like, "Yeah, well, I do have the touch and all that." And I'm like, you do, Jenna Ortega. Um, and so he's eating like crazy, and he's like, oh, these are so good, these are so good. And they're like, has anybody seen JP? They're like, I haven't seen him all morning. And then they're like, yeah, he's missing and Chris is missing. This is really weird. So then they devise this plan. They're going to sneak into the director's office to try to find clues.
Yeah.
So very Scooby-Doo-ish.
Yeah.
Mika and Mac get into the office while Camilla's outside, keeping watch.
Yeah, because
And
James, like, they're all out in like the common area, and James leaves and just like leaves the door
leaves the
open.
door wide open. Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Just leaves it. Yeah. Just, yeah. For no reason.
Yeah.
They find out that Chris is being held in solitary,
Yeah.
and there's some sort of testing that's going on. They're not quite for sure. And then they find like schematics for some sort of machine that's
Yeah.
being built. They're like, what is this? And it's like processor, it says on it, and all this sort of, and it's like got gears and
Yeah.
grinders and all. And then we get this, thing where James comes in, and then they're getting ready to escape,
Yeah.
and then he comes back, and it's just they end up.
I think
their plan goes to plan.
Yeah,
So.
I think they notice here that that JP is listed as in solitary. I don't know about Chris.
Oh, was it JP in solitary?
Yeah. And I
know they saw Chris's name on there too.
Yeah, I just can't remember what his was listed as. But they know that JP has been translated or transferred to solitary.
Yeah, translated.
Yeah, translated.
He's been translated to King James.
Yeah.
So JP, he kind of comes to, he's strapped into a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And he looks over and he sees, is it Chris that's next to him or just somebody else? I don't remember.
I think it's just some other random people.
There's like a couple other people in there with him. And we see that he, like, half of his face is old now, JP's.
Yeah.
And the other half is still young. And he sees the other, and they've been weirdly aged the same. But they're like in this laboratory type thing. There's like things with bubbles in it and serums and all this sort of stuff going on.
Yeah.
James sees Mac, and this is now after they've finished their heist.
Yeah.
And James is like, hey, I want you to take this screwdriver and go up, and I want you to fix that vent that's way up there.
Yeah.
On this big shaky ladder. He's like, well, I'm supposed to go up there. And he's like, yeah, go up there. And then Camilla is supposed to feed this old guy, which he ends up knocking his food onto the floor. She's trying to pick it up off the floor, and he escapes from his chair, and he tries to stab, what's her name again? Catherine? Kate? Orderly.
Oh, I forgot already. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Inconsequential.
Cynthia, I think.
Cynthia. He tries to stab her with a shiv he's been making. They end up, him and the security officers end up kind of getting into a kerfuffle, and they end up knocking the ladder over that Mac is on, and it falls, boom.
Yeah.
Flat on Mac on his back. We're like, holy crap, is he dead? Because you don't know who's going to die in this. I mean, like, anybody could die.
And they check him out, and then, like, so Camilla's like, we got to call an ambulance. And Cynthia's like, we're not calling anyone.
Yeah, no ambulance.
Yeah.
We're not calling anyone. No ambulance for you. JP ends up slipping his hands out of his restraints, and he sneaks off to hide somewhere in the lab, because he's going to try to find a way out.
Yeah.
This is after he's seen that there's a keypad to get out of the door to get you out back into the, rest of the Owl Cove.
Yeah.
We next see Eddie, once again, the supervisor and the head of Owl Cove. Mm-hmm. He's meeting up with the governor that we've seen earlier in the film.
Yeah.
And they're at a fast food burger place. which at my guess at this point was Lady
Yeah,
Liberty,
it
where
is.
JP worked
It is. It's the Liberty.
earlier,
At least it's the
or one
chain,
of them.
yeah.
Yeah. And we find out that the meat that they have been using for this is ground up elderly people, and that these people they don't know the difference. It tastes better, makes the process that we use gets the
Did,
meat tasting
is
great.
it explicit at this point? Because they're talking in a way that's like, I even wrote down here, I'm like, is Soylent Green people, basically?
Yeah, they are. It's very much implied,
Yeah.
and because even at one point he's like, "Have you even eaten it?
Yeah, he's
Like,
like,
have
I'm
you
not
eaten?"
eating it.
And he's like, "Oh, no, I don't eat it." But yeah,
I
it's
know it's
made
I know
pretty
it's heavily implied, but which I was even like, okay, oh my gosh, that's what they're doing. But I wasn't
yeah.
sure if it was very explicitly spelled out at this
And
point.
then he proceeds to say about uh how the governor has been providing them with a lot more
Yeah,
uh product
yeah,
for them to use for the burgers. So I'm like, yeah, it's pretty well
yeah. You should at this point.
implied.
At this point, you should be able to put two and two together.
Yeah,
So,
unless you've been eating these burgers or voting for that governor.
yeah,
We find out Mac is still alive. Um, because he ends up like he's like pretending like he's still dead,
yeah,
but he's trying to escape, and JP ends up escaping the lab because when we said earlier about where the old lady said about Virgil will set you free or
mhm,
something like that. And Virgil being the gatekeeper, Virgil was the keypad code to
yeah.
get out, literally the gatekeeper. Um, so he ends up escaping. Uh, yeah. JP then is trying to run away, and he runs into Mika, and she's pushing an old lady or an old man in a wheelchair again, and he tells her what happened. He's like, "Oh, they're trying to get me," and James has noticed that JP's gotten away, so he's like running after him.
Yeah.
Um, and he ends up showing up. Mika's there, and JP turns around to see James, and Mika tranks JP.
Yep.
And we find out Hot Girl Summer is working with them.
I did not see this one coming.
No,
this one,
no,
this one completely took me off guard. Or caught
yeah.
me off guard. Yeah.
There was one point earlier where I thought she was double crossing him,
Oh,
and
really?
that it was, and I forgot what point it was, and I think it might have been some point at the pool when I thought this,
Mm,
but then I just kind of tossed it out of my brain after
okay.
that, and I was like, well, probably not.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's working with them. JP wakes up from his trank dream, which he never had a dream, but
Yeah.
he comes to. Eddie's sitting there reading a book in front of him, and they're like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" He's figured out. JP's figured out what's going on.
Yeah. Well, because we didn't mention it, but he earlier, when he was escaping, he found the machine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he finds the machine. He sees all these people like vacuum sealed in
Yeah.
bags,
Yeah.
like on a conveyor belt thing, and then they get dropped onto a
Yeah.
conveyor, or like it's like those dry cleaning
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
going around, and then they get dropped onto a conveyor belt and then ground
Yeah.
up.
And this is the point
Um,
too where Eddie was like, they get the explanation for keeping him calm because they're like the fear spoils the meat.
yeah, it
So,
makes it tense and
yeah.
tough. Yeah. So if we keep calm, then it's just the meat's better and all
Yeah.
that. And they're like, you're disgusting. It's just like, look, I've never eaten it. He
Yeah.
goes, I'm not a cannibal. I'm an American.
Yeah.
I loved that line. I'm not a cannibal. I'm American. And
Yeah.
he goes, this is our manifest destiny.
Yeah.
One nation, all our own.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, because he's
jeez.
he's like, we used to need people like you, and you
Yeah.
delivered, but we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, he's like, he says, "You used to do the jobs we didn't want to do for basically nothing, but now we don't need you. We have automation."
Oh yeah, yeah,
And he's like, "Now you've become too much of a hazard. There's too many of you, and now we're too many mouths to feed. Now we're actually using you to feed those mouths,"
yeah,
type thing. And it's like, oh my word.
yeah.
Um, we find out Mac is hiding in the air vents, in the
Oh,
ventilation
we
system.
forgot to mention though, Eddie.
Oh,
Eddie
yeah,
is like, this isn't just something that's just happening here. They're like, this is or this is all part of a system, and he's like, ask your lawyer, she knows.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like,
The lawyer knew.
yeah.
Yeah, she was in on
So
it.
yeah, lawyer was in on it too.
Getting people into
Yeah,
their part of the program, getting the immigrants into
yep,
into the place. Um, and Mika comes in. She's doing like all of her seductive stuff and all this, and then
yeah.
it's almost like her and Eddie are together. It
It's hard to
seems. It
say.
looks
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's hard to say, but she's looking hot again. Um, what was I gonna say now? Yeah. So Mac lowers down some keys
yeah,
down to Camilla, the ones for the ankle monitors. Camilla gets out of her ankle monitor and she sneaks out of her room. She gets to the cafeteria and she sees this. It's like a blacked out window
yeah,
mirror type
yeah.
thing.
And
And Chris
Chris,
had mentioned
yeah,
earlier.
I was gonna say Chris had mentioned. He's like, I bet they're watching us, and they're like, yeah,
Yeah,
being paranoid.
yeah, but she smashes the window and finds out there's recording
Yeah,
equipment, like filming all them and everything. And she ends up getting caught though during all this.
yeah,
Uh, Mika starts telling JP the whole process and the plan and what all was going to be happening with it. And uh,
yeah. And this is
Eddie,
we get some of the explanation about what's been going on because
mhm,
she says like the first thing they do is they dose you with anti-anxiety meds in the water, which is what Chris was afraid of,
yeah,
right? But she says it triggers like night terrors, paranoia, and violent hallucinations,
yeah,
right? So again, when JP saw Lily, that's why like he wasn't asleep, right?
yeah, he was,
He didn't
yeah,
open his eyes. He was just hallucinating, you know.
right,
And then she's like, and then they add the hormone, and that's what basically tenderizes the muscle.
yeah,
So
makes him weak,
yeah,
makes him, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
the perfect
so yeah,
livestock, as she says.
yes. Then Eddie proceeds to say, he says, "There's a natural order to this world, and we," which he's referring to white Americans,
Yeah,
"are just here to enforce it."
yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Jeez.
jeez. Yeah, there's not a political anything with this film
No,
whatsoever.
no, not at all.
Um,
This definitely
um,
isn't Texas.
exactly. I'm pretty sure that that's exactly what this movie was made
Oh,
about.
I
Was
am 100% confident because the state
yeah,
is never actually named. You
no,
just get a governor, but like, there's no way this
but he's
isn't
wearing a
Texas.
big cowboy hat and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like right on the border. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Um, JP finds Camilla. Uh, I I forgot how he ends up finding her. Like maybe he's taken to the room where she's at. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Both of them are aged, or maybe he's just now.
Oh no, you know what?
Oh,
They're basically just sent out into the common area.
that's right. Yeah, because it's like there's nothing he can do to
Yeah,
get
it
away at
doesn't
this
matter
point. Yeah,
because now they know, like, because Eddie and Camilla explained to them, um as this process reaches its end, um the bones become weak and the subject becomes slow and
that's
disoriented,
right.
right? So and then I think Eddie even says that like the surge of violence that seems to come out, and like basically the body will do whatever it takes in its last surge of energy. And so
Yeah.
that's basically
Which is
why we
usually
were,
that.
that's why they were
Yeah.
getting that distortion and like
Yeah.
the surge of violence. And they're like, that's how we know when the bombing is ready. So,
Yeah. That's right. That's
yeah,
right. So yeah, JP is just let go.
yeah,
Basically, now he's just supposed to roam until he dies.
yeah,
He ends up finding Camilla, who she's in watching TV, and it's just literally the TV. All it's doing is playing ads for the governor and
yeah,
Lady Liberty, the fast food chains, and both of them are now aged. I mean, half aged.
yeah.
It's like half his face and an old face, and then she's like half old uh, Jenna Ortega, and then half hot Jenna Ortega. Um, and and in then JP goes over to Lily or Greta, and she remembers him at this point.
Yeah,
And they have like their little moment, and he does like the L thing like he always used to do to her, and she does it back, and
yeah,
they realize she realizes she's getting her memory back in a way.
yeah,
And then he promises he's going to get them both out of there. At this point, James and uh, I forgot her name again.
I don't know. They're the operations officers
Yeah,
or
the
whatever.
orderly. I just
Yeah,
write the orderlies. That's what I wrote the whole time.
yeah,
And Mika
the
now
orderlies. Yeah,
comes in with them to dose all the transformed old people. But all the old people then get up from the beds, and they are now joining JP and Camilla, and they're gonna riot.
yep,
They're rioting against the system. JP then lures the big guard guy away. Then he starts getting the crap kicked out of him,
yeah.
and Mac drops out of the vent system where he's been hiding and chokes the guard out with JP's catheter tube.
Yes,
And
which the
Mac's like,
guard had yanked out. Oh,
yeah. And JP's like, ah. And then Mac's like, I got pee on me. All the old people are rioting and fighting the staff and everything. During all of this, Camilla, Lily, and JP escape in an elevator, and they end up down in the basement, while Mac proceeds to lead all the rest of the elderly out of the facility.
yeah,
JP finds Chris in a cage, and then Eddie grabs JP. They start to fight briefly. I mean, it's a
yeah,
very fast fight.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, JP
Because
he's half old.
weak.
He's super weak,
Yeah.
right? So,
And then Eddie picks him up, puts him onto the conveyor belt, and he's going to make him into burger patties while JP's still alive.
yeah. Chris is in
And
a cage at this point, by the way.
yeah,
He's like,
I said that.
oh, did you? Okay, yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's like locked up in a cage. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And Eddie says, nothing personal. This is just progress.
Yeah.
Camilla then comes over and she knocks Eddie down. But then he gets up, grabs her, and throws her. And he chokes JP. He's like got him in a lock, in a neck hold, everything. Yeah. Chris then in his cage, like does that zombified thing where he's gotten to this last surge of strength or whatever.
Yeah.
Ends up like busting out of the cage, comes over and rips Eddie's jaw off.
Yeah.
And then puts him onto the conveyor belt, and then we see Eddie Burgers.
And that's it for Chris too, right? We don't see
Chris
him
dies
again.
after that.
Oh, do you see him die? Because
no, we don't see him die, but we assume. I mean, that's
the assumption.
Usually, what happened right before they die.
Yeah, because I'm like, what in the world happened to Chris? He throws Eddie onto the conveyor, but then he's like gone. He's not even any of the shots anymore.
Well, see, because remember, it was right before or right after the surge of power, whatever happened,
right,
for Mr. Phillips. Then he ends up dying.
Okay, right,
on his own. So that was like their last moment before they expired.
Okay, that makes sense.
So in his last effort of strength, he ends up saving Camilla and JP. Camilla, JP, and Lily escape. out, and they end up in a park, and they find a bench, and JP sits down. He has Lily next to him on the wheelchair. Camilla sits down next to JP. JP kind of like dozes off. Camilla rests her head onto JP's shoulder, and they all die.
Yeah.
And even Lily, she kind of flops down. We see then Mac leading all the elderly out of the place, which there's another scene with Mac and the elderly.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny, but I don't want to spoil that for anybody.
Yeah.
Mac finds them, and he's trying to wake them up, and he's like, no, you're dead. No, type thing. And then he's sad that they're, and you're like, oh man, they died. That sucks. But he promised to get his sister out. They got her out. We find out then through all the newscasts again, governor's going to jail.
The governor fled.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's what it said. So they show the lawyer is getting arrested, but they said that the governor fled the country. They couldn't find him. The burger chain is getting shut down. A whole bunch of people are being arrested, but the governor fled the country.
Yep. Because they found out what was actually making all the burgers and all that.
Yeah, and you do very explicitly see it when Eddie is thrown on. He goes into the grinder, then you see the meat come out, and then it's formed into the patties. And so it's oh boy.
And there's a team of scientists already looking to reverse the aging effects from the serum and I'm like, wow, that happened rapidly.
Yeah.
But it must have been, over the next couple of weeks what was going on. It's just showing it all at that point. And then we find out that JP and Camilla and Lily were just faking Mac out, pretending like they were dead, and they were like, oh, it was the perfect time to do it, and he's like, oh, y'all messed up, blah, 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 and all this. So they live, and then there's happy music that comes on, so I guess everything just goes back to normal, and they're probably put back to normal, and
I guess so.
And we see their mom being released, all the immigrants are being released, and all this, and the mom is released and all that, and she looks right into the camera and doesn't say anything, and you're like, oh, but at this point we think her kids are dead.
Oh yeah.
But because this was during all that news footage stuff. But anyway, guess everything's back to normal, and we're in the credits.
Yep, that's it.
Drum roll, boom boom. What did you think of this film, sir?
Straight to the top of my list.
Yeah?
This is my favorite movie we've watched this year.
This was a good film.
I love this one, man.
I really liked it.
This is, you and I have had conversations before about pieces that do political commentary or try to, and like how Doctor Who is just like terrible at it.
Yes.
I know you haven't watched it yet. I think The Boys is fantastic at it. It can be.
I'm still planning on watching it.
This falls into that category of fantastic at the political commentary, but still also a pretty traditional horror flick. I figured out one of the twists. The whole meat burger thing, I really didn't see that coming. What is the other one? Oh, with the what's her name turning on them?
Merica.
Totally caught me off guard. But no, it was a fun movie. It was like sort of a mystery, and really great acting. Funny.
Funny.
Funny
really funny film.
But still like unsettling too.
It had its dark moments, and it had its comedy when it needed to be, and it was a well-balanced movie.
I love this one, man.
For a well-balanced diet.
Straight to the top of my list. I thought it was fantastic.
It was a great movie. Really, really good. I mean, there was even one point earlier where Big Mac was saying that he could really go for one of the fish fillet ones from Lady Liberty.
Oh,
and JP's like, that's not fish.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, wait, what is it then? What is it? You're gonna tell me, right? And he goes, it's a secret.
He's
I
like, you
can't
don't want to
tell.
know.
Yeah, you don't want to know. And he's like, now I want to know. And then what's funny though is JP's saying that, but he doesn't realize that the burgers,
Yeah, which he's
which
loving.
is funny, at the very, very beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
JP is flipping the burgers.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that's all he's doing. It starts out,
Yeah.
one of the very first shots is the meat patties on the grill.
Yeah, and so clearly this has been going on for a while, and they kind of even say when Eddie is talking to the governor, and he says, you've provided me with a lot more, right? So
Yeah.
that implies obviously that this has been going on for a while, but now that the government or the governor enacted this arrest, now they're getting a lot more stock, and they basically
Yeah.
say like, you've provided me with an unending supply,
Yeah.
right? So this is this is going to happen.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
immigrants are, and what he does say during that too is that they've figured out this process. This is why they're aging them,
Mhm.
is to rapidly move the process of the aging quicker
Mhm.
and to tenderize the meat faster.
Yeah.
So they're taking all these immigrants and tenderizing the meat
Yeah.
through this process and making them old so that they can.
And and
Anyway,
and look, and I obviously going into that, this is obviously a really like extreme hyperbolic scenario, right?
is it though?
But like, but all the stuff at the beginning with those,
Yeah.
with the actual news clips
Yeah.
from people saying things like, oh, like the whole like white genocide,
Yeah.
nonsense, right? Man, it may have gone in a bonkers direction, but that stuff is all still real and still being said, and
Yes.
it's freaking
Yes.
dangerous. Even if it's
It's
not
very
people being
dangerous.
turned into burgers, this stuff is still
Yeah.
demented and dangerous. So
Yeah. And I mean, and not to get, eh, this is both sides of the aisle on this too. I mean, we're getting to these points too where it's there's so much division
mhm.
that both sides are now pushing for cancellation of, either one. But I mean, we're seeing it very, very prevalent, especially right now
Yeah, yeah,
from one side. Um,
yeah,
but
and I
it's
would
like,
argue that from one side, it's obviously it's an ideological divide, right? And look, every group has its extremists,
oh yeah,
and so yeah, there are going to be some people over here who are, you know, want to dehumanize everyone for even the slightest
yeah,
um, deviance from a narrative, right? But
yep,
that's not the same as these people on the other side who are explicitly preaching this like
yes,
super
hatred,
racist hatred, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. No, this film accurately portrays
yeah,
and I mean, clear to the fact that we're seeing, I mean, except for the grinding people up
hmm
into hamburger. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I stopped eating McDonald's. No, no,
yeah,
no. I wish I had, but I haven't. But there are extremes that are going on, and it's horrible.
hmm
And like I even wrote on Twitter, I'm like, I'm 20 minutes into this movie and I'm already hating my country.
yeah.
Um
Yeah,
because I see it happening
yeah, and again, and,
around
and
here,
like I
and
said, it's because they don't have to make anything up. They can either quote verbatim or they can just show the news clips.
yeah. And it's not that I hate America. It's the
No,
fact that I hate what's going on.
yeah,
I and when I say, because people will be like, "Oh, you hate this country. Why don't you get out of it?" And I was like, "No, yeah, I hate you." Um, and by you saying that makes me hate you even more.
yeah,
It's like, how about you leave, and then we have a better country. But anyway, yeah, highly, highly political
oh yeah,
film, um, but done super well.
yeah, done very
Really,
very
really good
well.
job.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm
If
not gonna lie. If you're a red hatter, you're gonna be super triggered by this movie, but I don't care. So
Yeah, you think? Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but as someone who cringes at terribly done political commentary and will
Yeah.
openly mock, terribly done political commentary, this does not fall into that camp. This is very,
No.
very well done.
They did an extremely good job at it.
Yeah.
Even down to the points when they're being interviewed, each one of them individually.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
to break down these little things,
Yeah.
the things that they said and everything, it was like these are even
Well,
these little jabs are just
yeah.
right on.
Well, and even Mika, who, yeah, obviously turned out to be a traitor, but
Yeah.
she calls herself a citizen of the divided states of America.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good.
Yeah. No, I
So,
mean, the writing in this was extremely well done.
yeah.
And there was so much that we did not cover on this
Oh, yeah.
for the
Yeah.
sheer fact that, like, you need to watch this just to pick up a lot of these things because
Yeah.
there's so many things that are said that it was just like, I'm not going to write every little thing down, but
Yeah.
it, for the movie sake, getting us from point A to point B, it wasn't necessary for us to talk about on
Uh-uh.
here. However, with the commentary that they were trying to bring about on this, it was needed to be said.
Yeah.
And people will say, oh, this is just propaganda and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, it can't be propaganda if it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, with that being said, let us know what you guys thought of this film. Put it down in the comments down below.
Yeah.
And while you're there, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let us know if there's any other films like this that have caught your guys' attention. Something
Yeah.
that, is well done political commentary on it. I know we said when we started this thing, we're no politics, but this movie kind of took us in
Yeah,
that
yeah. I mean,
direction and
the reality
had
is
to.
sometimes a piece of media is going to be political by nature, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Totally fine with it if it's coming about naturally and if it's well done. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe me, if it's not well done, I will
Yeah.
tell you. I will be
Yeah.
honest.
And we're definitely not going to give you our opinion on where we stand, politically on any of this.
Yeah, or religiously. That's not our thing,
Yeah.
is it,
No, of
Chris?
course. No, not whatsoever. If you guys are interested in any of that, you can check out some of our old podcasts. If you can find it anywhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, with that being said, let us know what you guys think. Also, let us know if there's any of films coming out that you guys want us to check out and cover in the podcast. Here's a few right here that you guys can take a look at and see if there's any of these films that are coming up here soon. I am super excited about one of these first ones up here on this list too that I'm going to go check out here very, very soon.
Oh yeah.
Evil Dead Rise. So,
Oh yes.
Yes.
Very excited about that one.
So I know it's coming.
Mhm.
It's coming. What, next week, isn't it?
Is it? I know it's
I
soon.
think it's next week.
Yeah,
It's the 10th,
okay.
I believe.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I think it's next week. So anyway, we won't be doing that one next week, obviously.
No, but that might be one of the first ones we end up having to watch and then like rewatch later for
I know
for an episode.
I
I don't
know.
know.
I'm definitely going to the theaters to go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the next couple weeks. I will have been to the theater more than I have been probably in the whole year.
Really?
Yeah, because I went and saw John Wick 4.
Oh yeah.
The other day, which my back was horrible after. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But like Thursday, I'm supposed to be taking my kid to go see the Super Mario movie.
Yep.
And then I've got Evil Dead Rise. So, and I've got to see that one in theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm gonna say from what I've heard, a cheese grater is a weapon. Oh, I don't know. This one may get me more than Terrifier 2 did.
Yeah.
As far as like the gore factor, and I don't know. I don't know. There's something about when it's just anyway.
Yeah.
So I might as well jump into this week's real life horror story. This one, or real stories of horror, real horror stories. I forgot it. I forgot it
I don't
already.
know.
I'd been doing so
It's a
well.
horror story
So
that either really did or allegedly happened. So
there you go. I figured we might as well keep this episode as PC as possible, and no, we take it completely off the rails on this episode. If we're going with any sort of opinion, we're going all the way. This story literally happened just a few days ago. Well, about 2 weeks ago. Pastor buried after body was kept at mortuary for almost 2 years because his family believed he would be resurrected.
yeah.
This happened at in Gauteng, Johannesburg, South Africa. This was one of those pastors who was he was one of those miracle healer
Oh yeah.
pastors over in South Africa. His wife had a dream that he would be resurrected and would not allow his body to be buried. However, the high court came and demanded that his body be cremated and buried. After the funeral home went to the state or the country and said, look, we can't house this guy anymore. He was kept in a coffin in a refrigerated mortuary for 2 years.
Jeez.
Because the wife continued to say, and the church continued to say that he would be resurrected. He was not.
No. Surprising turn of events.
Yes. Supposedly other miracles had happened at his church. I don't know if this is the same African pastor who used to fart on his congregants to heal them or not. But there was one of them where he said, this is the Holy Spirit, and would fart on their heads. And because they would lay down on the steps of the stage and he would sit on their heads and fart on them. Anyway, the state stepped in, or whatever you would call it. The high court stepped in and said, we are cremating him, we are burying him, because the body had become so toxic. At that point, they ended up burying him about 2 weeks ago. The wife nor the older kids showed up for the funeral.
Okay.
There were other people there, and they said a pastor did the funeral, but there were some congregants and some other people who knew him showed up. But yeah, his family did not, because they were not happy about it. Anyway.
Okay.
I just found that to be
that's pretty messed up.
An interesting story. Yeah. I've heard of people like embalming their relatives and keeping them in the same house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had family members that I thought would do that to people.
Yeah.
So, anyway, if you guys have a real life horror story, please let us know. You can write it in to castersofhorror@gmail.com, or you guys can put it down in the comments below and spoil it for everybody.
That's right.
While you're there, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Before we leave today, we like to do a little segment called Pick or Pass. This is something we've watched in the last week or so, or something that's caught our attention recently that is horror themed, based, whatever. It could be a movie, could be a TV show, could be a piece of art, could be a recipe, whatever. Shane, I'll let you go first since I've been talking non-stop.
So I got a bit of a curveball this week, and something that is not overtly horror, but I would find unsettling. Okay.
Pervertly horror.
This is actually a YouTube channel called Action Adventure Twins, and it's just a couple guys who go spelunking. Okay.
Oh
yeah. And them and some friends and stuff.
Claustrophobia is a real thing.
There you go.
It's here.
Because tell you what, man, they go deep into caves and they rappel down deep cliffs that are deep inside the earth, and crawl.
I'm getting like tense just thinking about
this. They crawl through passages that are not only very shallow, right? So they already had to crawl through them, but sometimes these passages are somewhat flooded. And so they are, oh man, I've watched a bunch of their videos, and every time I watch one, and again, all they're doing, they're just cave diving, right? But
Yeah.
man, I
Yeah.
watch them and I'm like, you
Now,
know,
any of those spelunking things or like cave diving where they're like with the scuba equipment through
yeah,
the or free diving, like where they have the just the snorkel and they're
hmm,
going into the cave. No, thank you.
yeah,
Something about caves being trapped, no air,
yeah.
or stuck.
They had this one where they ended up in this place. I guess I don't know if it was an old mine or something, but they ended up there was this huge pipe that was big enough for a human to fit into, and it was like a vertical shaft. So one of them decided to, and it was flooded. So one of them got his snorkeling gear on, and he or his diving gear on, and he decided to climb down the ladder that was inside this big pipe. Right,
Yeah.
he gets so far down, and it's like somewhat blocked off, and he's like, all of a sudden, like there's some sort of like silt or something, and there's something blocking his way. So he just climbs back up. He climbs up and gets out, and then like part of the thing, as he's like standing right next to it, part of the thing like collapses or something.
Oh, jeez.
And so, yeah, I don't know. So again, not overtly horror, but yeah, like you said, if
Still
claustrophobia,
horror
if
enough.
claustrophobia is a thing for you, and oh man, there's just there's just no way. I
Wow.
found it to be very unsettling. So there you go. Action
Wow.
Adventure Twins. That's my pick of the week.
And that's on YouTube,
Yeah, it's
right?
a YouTube channel. It's worth checking out. They discover some pretty neat things, if you can tolerate even watching
Oh,
their
jeez.
little expeditions.
Wow. Yeah.
What you got this
No,
week, Chris?
that's the real life horror
I
story.
know, right?
That is a real life horror story. I've actually got a pick for this week. It's a film that actually came out this year,
Okay,
2023, believe it or not. It's
nice.
on. You guys can check it out on Amazon. But it's a film called The Park. Um, and basically, what happens is there's a virus that kills off all the adults all over the earth.
Okay.
And as it progresses, once children reach the age of puberty and begin puberty, they are instantly dead. Like
What?
like it'll kill them. Um,
Huh.
anyway, all that's left on the earth are children, and they end up. This story takes place at an abandoned amusement park, and it's some of the kids there trying to vie for control of it.
Okay.
Um, it was a well done film. The kid actors that were in this were really really good.
Huh.
The storyline was good. I could see it being something very real, very realistic. I had heard about it as one of those. This is one of those movies you've got to check out, and I'm glad I did. It was worth watching.
Huh. Nice.
But yeah, you can rent it or own it on Amazon. I went with the rent option as opposed to the own. Um, it's worth watching. It's not one of those movies I'd watch over and over and over,
Yeah.
but it was worth checking out. It was really well done.
Cool.
Um, and the realism in it, I think, is what made it even stronger. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, they did a good job with it. So, anyway, it's worth checking out. It's
Cool.
on Amazon. It's called The Park. Came out this year. But it's written by Shao Nyo and directed by them as well. But yeah, the kid actors were really really good in it.
Nice.
I'd never seen them in anything prior, but they did a great job with the film. So, and it was all filmed here, almost right next to me in Louisiana.
Oh,
So,
really? Nice.
um, somewhere close by. It's somewhere in Louisiana. I know that, but yeah, they're filming a lot of stuff down there. And I say right next to me in Louisiana. I literally live on the border of Louisiana.
Oh,
So,
okay.
in fact, our TV stations here are. I live in Texas, but my TV channels, all the local stations, are all Louisiana channels.
Oh, okay.
So it's wild like that. So I refer to where I live as Texas, Louisiana. So.
Yeah.
And it's almost close to Arkansas too. So it's known as Texarkana. Anyway, do you guys want me to pinpoint exactly where I live? I'll tell you my address if you want that. And I'll give you my social security code while I'm at it. Anyway, yeah. So Shane, what film are we checking out next week?
Chris, we're watching some cartoons next week.
Yay, cartoons! I'm gonna get some Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
Sit down and watch this.
We're gonna be watching some Unicorn Wars.
Unicorn Wars. This is the Spanish cartoon film based on the teddy bears who go to war with their arch nemesis, the unicorns.
Yes.
A
very bloody war.
And it looks like My Little Pony. It reminds me of Happy Tree Friends.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of Happy Tree Friends. Yeah. But it's bright colors and really dark story and gore. So anyway, I'm excited for it.
I am too.
So stick around with us. Check it out. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you guys know exactly when it comes out. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter because we post things on there too that says, hey, we have a new episode out. So right. Sometimes we post things in between. Not all the time, but sometimes we do because I'm busy. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit like. If you didn't, hit like. Till next week, I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane. We'll see you.
Get the hell out of here. We'll see you guys.